I remember my very first time when I was asked to play on platform as part of the team here at Hillsong Church. I remember it was I just joined Creative, and I'd helped pull out chairs for a few months and just getting to know people. And then one day I got asked to play, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, I prayed about it and I asked God, I'm like, hey, if you would be so kind, let me have a go. And the opportunity came up. So it was a Wednesday night, and I can't remember what song we were playing, but I was so nervous. And I remember like some of the guys around, like my mate, like Mike Chislett and Jolie Houston and a few others, they're all sitting around like, we're so excited for you to get to play. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm like nervous. So I remember the song starting up, and I'm like, this is my opportunity. And I threw out all the chops that I knew. So I was just like playing everything. And I wasn't even listening to what the music was doing around me. I was just playing and having the time of my life. And the more experienced guitarist that I was playing with, who was like my guitar hero, I absolutely looked up to, stops in the middle of the song, stops playing, turns around, looks at me and goes, "Oi, you, young punk, what are you doing?" I was like, I'm playing, He's like, you're playing over all the vocals. You're playing over everything, and you're not listening to the music, and the vocals are singing here and you're playing right over them, Stop and listen. I was like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, and I just kind of shriveled back in my corner, and I thought I was the absolute failure. It really, I remember that so clearly, because it really taught me to listen to what's going on around me at all times, which I guess poses the question, what do you play when you don't know what to play? Or what do you play when there's no specific guitar parts written? I guess we could use so many examples, but the first thing I'll ask you is like, what's the melody of the song doing? What are the vocals doing? If they're singing something, are you playing something that's supporting the melody, or are you playing something that's distracting, that's taken away from what the melody is doing? If there's a turnaround of a song where there's no guitar parts written, how do you musically contribute something that's still worthwhile without distracting that moment? I guess nowadays when we craft our music, we spend a lot of time writing parts and piecing the parts together. It's like a massive jigsaw puzzle coming together. And when it comes together, when all the pieces fit, it's a wonderful picture of music, But when it's when it's not right, it's just it can be quite grating. So an example I thought of that I guess helps understand what I'm talking about is Fresh Wind. So if we can play the turnaround from the end of the first chorus going into the verse, that'll be great. So there's actually no guitars here. Cool. Thanks. When we piece that song together and we're laying guitars, there's actually no guitars in that turnaround. But if you're playing that on a weekend, what do? Do you just stand there and kind of smile and put your hands in the air, or or do you, how do you musically contribute something that is not necessarily written as part of the song, but is still going to be interesting to play and to listen to? And I think the important thing is to think like an arranger. Listen to what all the parts are doing around you, and then I guess prioritize in your head. What's the most important thing? What's the song saying at this moment? Now, when I'm hearing that, I'm hearing Brooke's piano line playing. Dun, 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 dun. That's kind of the hook of the song. So if I in the key of C again. So if I was to play over that turnaround, like look, it's technically correct because I'm playing the right chords, but is it actually adding anything to that moment? And so the arranger head would say no. I would say, well, that piano line is really pretty. The drums are coming in, bringing like a little 16th groove, and the piano's playing that little line. Ding, ding, ding. Now, I've got maybe a couple of options here, and I think what I would do as one of the guitarists, I could probably play, to help that moment, I would maybe play like 2, 3, 4. So that's essentially mirroring the piano part that's there. And often as a guitarist, when I don't know what to play, the first thing I do is, okay, what's happening around me that's taken importance, that's actually speaking? What's the motive of the song? You know, what's the melody? What's the lead line that's happening there? If it's not a guitar, it's often a keyboard or a piano as a melodic instrument, and I'll mirror that. The other option is I could play something down low that has a similar rhythm. You know, it could be like... I'm playing the chords, but the rhythm is actually helping the forward momentum of the song. So I gave you a couple of examples there of like what I would play. So the first one is mirroring the piano line. The other option would be something down low. And maybe a third option could be, because there's lots of rhythm happening there already, you don't want to add counter rhythms, or you don't want to add something that's going to take away from that moment. You could do like swells. I think if you're standing up on a stage wanting to contribute, you always feel like the need to play. But sometimes the most simplest things are best. And whether you think you know, it might not be the lead line, it might not be the soaring part up high, but know that every sound, every tone contributes to the overall sound of the song. So even if it's something like a swell or something down low, even if it's a low swell, or if it's like a... Everything helps. Just to flesh out the idea of how the guitar parts are pieced together and how they support the melody of the song and how they support, I guess, the forward momentum of the song. So when we get to the chorus and the melody's like, we need a fresh wind, there's a couple of parts that are happening. There's one part that's just a swell. Because you're establishing the chorus line, you know, and it's a strong melody layered with harmonies. That guitar part, one guitar part is doing that. The other guitar part is actually just playing like a... And then when it hits the bridge, the post-chorus, I should say, before the bridge, where the tagline happens, pour your spirit out. That's a real lift. You hear the whole band lifting. So as a guitarist, I'm thinking, how do I help lift it? Now that's a layer that you could play. You'll hear the intensity of the drums and the urgency in the vocals. So how do I support that as a guitarist? Probably a couple of ways. I'd probably go to like either an 8th or a 16th feel on the right hand. And it could be something like this. That'd be one part. And then another part that we recorded. How about a tune? Another part that we recorded was a similar 16th thing, but just up high. It's playing the third of the chord. That chord is F, and the melody is "Pour Your Spirit Out," which lands on the tonic, and the guitar part's playing thirds. It's actually done with a capo, but I'll just show you without a capo. So with that part and that part happening together creates a whole nother level of energy, if you like. So you've got the urgency of the vocals singing, "Pour Your Spirit Out," the drums building, and then the guitars hitting that 16th with a bit of grit. It just all helps lift the energy. Moving on for the song, you've got the bridge part that I used as an example before. Da, 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 do, 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 do. There's a line. There's a couple of lines that come in. One of the lines is a pretty sort of high part that's just like. There's that part, which it just adds a nice color before the band opens up. It's just you're giving each section a little something, that I guess tweaks or just perks the listener's ears. So, and then there's another part that happens underneath, which is it's kind of reverbed out with delays, but it's like. That happens over the da 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 da. So. And you'll notice the notes are kind of similar. They're not the same, and they're separate enough to not clash with the melody, but actually support the moment. So C, A, G, F, E. Simple, kind of like partly pentatonic, partly major scale, but it really does support the melody there. And then when it opens up to a big chorus after that, you've just got a few different layers. I guess you've got all those ideas pieced together. So you've got, we need a fresh wind. So you've got that layer happening down there. You've got a little, I guess like a pretty sort of arpeggio type thing happening that is an inversion of the chords. Like, we need a fresh wind. And then you've got another part that happens, and it sort of sits sort of in the middle here, in the middle of the I guess, the registry, the musical range. Sits in the middle, and it's this. And that part only comes in at the end when you want to create the maximum amount of energy for the song. Okay, so with all those examples I used for Fresh Wind, those examples can be used for really any song. But my encouragement is when you sit down to craft guitar parts, have a listen to what the band is doing. Have a listen to what the vocals are doing, the melody is doing. It's great to sit in your bedroom or sit with other guitarists and write these great parts, but at the end of the day, it needs to sit well with the band. So yeah, pay attention to what's going on with the drums, the rhythm, what's the piano parts doing. Now, both guitars and pianos, they're melodic instruments as well as rhythmic instruments, so work together with crafting guitar parts, crafting your parts there. But most importantly, listen to what the melody of the song is doing. See how best you can support that. Look out for the gaps in the song. So if the melody's not singing, how can I place something here, or how can I write something here that's just going to keep the interest of the listener going? But yeah, hopefully those examples can help you, and you can take away those ideas and apply them to whatever song you find yourself workshopping. Cheers.